This is what we're doing today. We're gonna do it here on my story. I even have the exact lipstick here. But wait, there's more. So I'm gonna film the whole tutorial here. Look, I even have the liner. I bought the liner. I actually did a first impression of, you have the liner, then you don't have the liner, because the liner dadgum ran away. No, seriously, let me find that liner. I'm probably holding it. Wait, I'm not. Just a second. I have the liner, the Pat McGrath liner. I bought this, and what I was saying is I actually have a TikTok on a first impression. I was going to compare this to my other favorite, which is Wet n Wild, so that's another video. But for today, we're going to recreate this look, and then I have a dupe for the lipstick. But that's what I'm going to be posting later. I'm very excited. I also just realized that I even have the palette. I bought this Sunday. I ran into Sephora for one thing, and yeah, I got that. Pat McGrath actually sent the blush palette that was used. So we have this. The only thing I don't have is the gel liner. Is this the right one? Yes, Galactic Sun. Everything will be listed. I'm just kind of excited. This is really fun for me because I'm just recreating it and I have everything. I love makeup. So yeah, so the only thing I don't have is going to be the gel liner, but I have basically everything else. Everything to look very seamless, so I'm going to use a base that's going to be very close to my skin tone. This is the Clean Canvas from Gerard Cosmetics. Just a little bit of this. I'm going to bring it out this way as well, and even over in this. This palette is dreamy, just dreamy. So I'm going to start with this shade. I feel like this is the transition. I feel like it's these two colors, so let's start with that. So we have that color on the one side of the brush, flip that towards the ceiling, and we're just going to start to press that in our upper crease. Always notice that I start off with a very small amount of product. The smaller the amount is, the more control you have. I know that we want to go into a palette, we want to put it on, we want to see that pigment, but that's a surefire way for things to get out of control. We're going to overblend it. It can become patchy no matter how fantastic the formula is. If you start with too much, you can probably wind up overblending. I think we're already going to skip this shade. I just went and looked at the picture. It doesn't seem that bright through the crease. What it does seem is that we're going to grab this shade, same brush, picking up a little bit more. It seems like it's nice and shaded out here because the wing doesn't pop. There's not a lot of separation from this dark brown from the wing that we're going to add later. So let's go ahead and just pack some of that here. Kind of press it over into this area, and I might switch to a little bit smaller brush because I don't want this color to come too far up. I really want to keep it nice and contained, so we're going to need a smaller brush. So now I've switched to a smaller brush and the dark brown. I'm just going to tilt my head back a little bit, and I feel that this look of Adele's, it does look very wearable, a little bit simple, but there's actually a lot of intricacy in shading. So if you'll notice, that just kind of makes my socket look a little bit deeper, and I don't want to overblend that either. Okay, so for reference, to me, it actually seems a little warmer above this. I feel like this palette's pulling a little too cool, and at the very top of her crease here, it seems warm. So let me grab another palette. I'm going to stick with the Pat McGrath palette, but I need something warm, and I feel like this shade is going to do it. We're going to pick up that much, and we're just going to go right above that crease shade and ever so lightly warm that up. I also want you to notice that in Adele's picture, this is all pretty bare through here. If you do bring your shadow up too high, I'm going to show you how to fix that. But for right now, let's just really focus this right above our darkest shade. This is going to be a huge tip, wild tip. I don't even know where I come up with this stuff sometimes. You put on your makeup seatbelt. I'll wait for you to put it on. That shade still wasn't warm enough, okay? Wasn't warm enough. So what we're going to do, we're going to grab a yellow. Straight up yellow, primary yellow, and I'm going to grab that here on this brush, and that yellow is going to add just enough warmth. It's not going to look yellow, but it's going to turn it into that transition shade she has in that picture. I know a lot of times we look at these colors and we go, what the heck am I going to do with that? But you can add all of these to your neutrals to kind of shift them, change them, take them where you want to go. Now, if it's gone up too far, I talk about this all the time. I love this concealer for cleanup. It's a little too heavy for the rest of my face and my under eyes, but I cannot live without it because it is the perfect texture to do cleanup. If you like a little bit more full coverage and if you have oily skin, this would be amazing all over. I love it, but for me, the cleanup, it doesn't make everything melt together too much. It's not too wet. We can just kind of clean that up. Again, we still want this very defined line because when I relax my eye, but we don't want it to be too far up this way. Not mentioning a brush, it's because it's a prototype. So I'm pretty sure this is the color that's on her lid. I'm gonna pick that up with my tiny little shader brush and let me make sure my eyeshadow base is tapped in, and from there, let's just kind of load that on. It actually looks like it's sheer, so that's why I didn't want to just go in with my finger. I wanted to kind of be a little more light-handed. So we'll just press that on. I've talked about this a few times, but notice I didn't bring the shimmer all the way to my lash line. I'm going to be using liner there, and if we can avoid shimmer, avoid it, because it kind of makes your liner not as smooth and not as black. I've talked about it on my page. Okay, so we're grabbing the Pat McGrath liquid liner, and Adele's wing always seems to kind of start from underneath here. And what that does when you start from underneath here, I'm not going to go in all wild to make it super dark, but I'm going to use this bottom part here as a guideline because you can kind of get this, what I call a 1950s shape. It was very upturned, but it wasn't as sharp. So we're going to do that, kind of connect it here. And then we're going to fill it in, bring it all the way over. And then I'm going to go perfect it in my mirror, but this is the shape we're wanting. And don't worry about this because we will smoke that out later. So here in the picture, there's my pointer. Adele's wing looks a little bit smoky, a little blurred. Let's say blurred. Blurred is the right word. Smoky's not the right word. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to press a little bit of black eyeshadow. This is a MAC 228. That shape is pretty much spot on. Her end of her wing is a little less pointy. It's more like that. So we're just kind of blurring the edges. Now we are going to add mascara and some lashes, but we kind of can't finish the eye because we'll have to connect it through here and all that kind of finishing touches, all that jazz. We can't do that till we get on our foundation, but for right now, that's a really pretty eye. So the lashes I put on are very small, but from the side, the little bit of definition here looks just like Adele's lash. They're pretty good. These are from House of Lashes. I'm still going to do a wear test on this, but now that I posted that video, because this is my new favorite foundation, I'm going to start using it. I was only holding out because I wanted y'all to see that video. You really need to make sure you shake it up really well. Really well. Adele's makeup in that picture doesn't seem to be super full coverage, so I'm just going to do one pump of the foundation because it is pretty full coverage. Somewhere in the chaos is my makeup brush. Perfect. Nice clean one. So now I'm going to take this. Let's see where that takes us. If we need to add more, we can. Gosh, I love this foundation. I mean, I don't even have to really talk about it. It just kind of it shows off what it can do. It's so beautiful. And of course, I'm using my handy dandy Anissa Beauty Pinnacle Foundation brush. This is the only brush that I ever used for my foundation. And you can use code ROSE for a discount. So I'm going to be using the Woke Concealer as well from Oma Beauty. This is in the shade White Pearl T2. And this one's really full coverage. I used this one yesterday. So just Just a little bit goes a long way. So let's just work this in. How pretty that is. I do want you to notice I'm not going to go under here and carve. We're still going to kind of blur that edge. It's blurred in that picture. It's not a really graphic straight eye, so let's not really worry about getting that very precise. Let's just worry about working in this concealer. We're going to set the under eye with our She Glam powder. I'm using the shade Bisque, evening that out on the back of my hand. I have an entire video on powder and why I do the bizarre things that I do with powder, and that's on IGTV. Let's just go ahead and really make sure that this under eye is nice and set. This right here, Smashbox, it's backwards. This was just delivered to my door. I haven't used something from Smashbox in 100 years. So this is their Cali Contour Palette. And to me, this shade right here looks real spicy. I also like this one to add some definition. I normally don't use shades like that. I don't really go back in and brighten, but if you do, that looked nice. But let's try this out for sure. Adele's bronzer does look very red. Adele and I have very similar undertones, so this should do the job. That's doing this. I like how it's not crazy pigmented. I'm picking up a little bit more. Let's go here. Her forehead definitely looks a little bit more defined than the rest of her face. So let's kind of focus on that. So now I have the MAC 228 again, and honestly, underneath here, this looks barely smudged with some black. Go ahead and connect that and press right underneath that wing. That wing just looks ever so lightly. Not smudge. Smudge sounds more aggressive. It just looks a little blurred. So we're getting to the home stretch here, and this is where all of the finishing touches kind of bring everything together. Just a little bit of a shadow there. I've kind of been dipping into this a lot. I mean, look how much I've already been using. Times change. So that's the L'Oreal powder foundation, and I'm taking a powder foundation and I'm just going to press this and kind of use it as a transition. Adele's under eye just kind of looks diffused, maybe a little lived in, not too smudgy. And I'm using a MAC 242S to just kind of press that into the black. Dipping back into the palette, we're going to use this shade on our inner corner. I have the blush palette here that was used. We're going to grab a little bit of this and just a little bit of this. And I'm pretty sure it's applied over this way because I don't see it in the picture. You see the side of her face, but you don't really see the blush here. So let's put it back here. I'm assuming that's where it's at. And then I'm actually just going to go ahead and grab the highlighter. You are seeing an intense highlighter, but you're seeing it right here. I'm just going to really press that in. It's very high and very right through here. She also seems to have highlighter right through here and here. That seems pretty aggressive. Let me just go back over that a little bit with my concealer brush. So we're going to put on the actual lip color she's wearing there. Then I'm going to wipe this off and I'm going to go film the dupe. So this is Pat McGrath. This is the lip liner. I've never tried these lip liners. I'm so excited. This is the shade Buff, and I'm just going to lay this down. When I say that, I'm not going in and trying to just perfect my lip line. What I like to do is lay down the lip liner. Then I'm going to go ahead and grab the lipstick. It's so pretty. Then we're going to apply that. It's such a beautiful color. Then I grab the lip liner again, and what I'm doing is I'm mixing the lipstick in with the lip liner. And it'll kind of blend it for you, and you'll get a more precise lip line. You ever realize how much hair I have. There's so much hair. There you have it. I'm going to hop off and film the dupe. I'm so excited for that. I like finding dupes. I did go to CVS and buy about 20 lip liners to find the daggum same lip liner, but I found it. This was a really fun recreation. I feel when I relax my eye, it looks just like it. I mean, look at this. You'll see that little bit of pink, that warmth, the shape of the wing. It's pretty spicy. I love you all so much. Get ready for Rose and Ben Beauty. Sunday. It's coming up. It's coming up. Sign up for emails. This is wild. I cannot believe we're this close. I love you all so much.